From one lover girl to another in less than 30 minutes. I'm going to break down for you what a block is, how it's feeding your patterns, why you're stuck in those patterns, even though you know what they are, and what you need to do to break them. My name's Taylor. I have a PhD in education. I have a lifetime of experience in breaking toxic patterns. I help women all over the world live lives that are unrecognizable from before. And I'm here doing the work I was always meant to be doing. So what even is a block? A block is something you hear people say, oh, you're blocked in love, you're blocked in money. Basically, a block is causing you to repeat a nervous system pattern on autopilot, okay? And until you make that pattern conscious, you're stuck repeating it. So there might be this energy of like, why do I keep doing this to myself? How does this happen again and again and again? I thought I was past this. Because the thing about patterns is the more you evolve and level up and try to break them, the sneakier they get. So you likely have some really toxic relationships from the past. And then you started to meet men that were seemingly better than those guys, but the pattern somehow still snuck in. And then 6 months, 8 months, a year in, you're like, holy shit, how did this happen to me again? Basically, a block is old pain living in the body, a story that the brain created to make sense of the pain, and self-sabotaging mechanisms that the nervous system keeps recreating to keep you from feeling that old pain again. Let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say you're 7 years old, your dad leaves, you never hear from him again. Suddenly you have this deep, painful abandonment wound. Your 7-year-old brain cannot understand the idea that your dad was just fighting demons, okay? So you have pain in your body that is too much for a 7-year-old nervous system to process. So it gets stuck and pushed down in the body, never fully felt and released. It's kind of frozen in there, right? And then the brain, being the elaborate mechanism that it is like, okay, we need to make sense of this pain. Why are we feeling this? Well, we must have done something wrong. So I must be too much. I must be not enough. Love must always leave. I must not need to ever get attached to someone again. So it creates these stories to make sense of this overwhelming pain. And then the nervous system is like, okay, I got you. And so it creates defense mechanisms. And those defense mechanisms come online anytime the brain thinks that there might be a hint of a trigger that will bring up that old pain. So fast forward, that little girl in that hypothetical is no longer 7, she's 25. She meets someone, she's getting super close to them. Her nervous system holds negative associations with closeness and with intimacy and with love. So it's going to find ways to sabotage that relationship, whether it be in telling her a bunch of stories that are going to make her anxious and want to cling tighter. It might be that she shuts down and pulls away or starts to nitpick flaws about him that she didn't see before. Those are examples of ways that the nervous system will sabotage you because it thinks it's actually protecting you from feeling that old pain again. Here's what I do. I help people uncover deeply unconscious patterns that they're repeating in relationships. I use your astrological birth chart. I work with tarot. I use my channel and I use your story. And together we come up with exactly what that pattern is that's sabotaging you. And I swear it's the best part of what I do. The moment that you hear it, you're going to be like, holy shit. Because your body knows truth when it hears it reflected outside of you, right? So as soon as people hear it and it clicks, they're like, that's it. That's me. That's the one. And so I wanted to just show you, without getting too deep into it, this is my birth chart. And I want to show you what my repeated pattern was. So this symbol right here, that's my moon. It's in Capricorn. Capricorn moons had to grow up early. They're afraid to speak up about their needs. They are very self-sufficient because they learned that they had to be. And that's directly opposite of this little guy up here in Cancer, this circle with the cross. That is Venus. That's the planet of love. Venus in Cancer is very sensitive, loving. That is the making of a lover girl. Okay. But those two forces are opposing one another because Venus in Cancer wants love, depth, intimacy, and Moon in Capricorn is like, no, we hold stories that asking for depth or asking for more ends in loss or abandonment or pain. And then this circle with the K next to my Venus is Chiron. That means I have a huge wound around, a mother wound, a wound around being nurtured. So that's impacting my Venus in Cancer from being able to be fully expressed as well. And then over here, this circle with the arrow in Aries, that's Mars in Aries. That is desire, that's intensity, that's how I experience conflict. And then this little broom looking guy next to my moon, that's Neptune. And Neptune makes you fantasize and not see things with clarity. So you can see how my chart holds all these clues of the pattern that I had to break in order to step into the relationship that was a reflection of my true authentic self. And it's actually really cool because my partner and I actually have a lot of the same placements. We both have Venus in Cancer. And we both have moons that are a little more guarded. So I take the chart, I look at the signatures in the chart. They tell a story about the pattern. We have a conversation about where you are in your life's journey because your chart is your chart for your whole life. So when I look at the chart, I don't know where your awareness, your current awareness is around these patterns. So, for instance, at this point in my life, I am very much living in my Venus in Cancer. I am in my feminine. I am able to show that sensitivity without fear. But these pictures on the right, I wanted to include these in here because they represent a time in my life when I had not liberated that Venus in Cancer. There's nothing wrong with one aesthetic or another. The point I'm illustrating here is that I was not being authentic to myself, and I was hiding behind plastic surgery. I was hiding behind wanting all designer things because I thought if I had all these designer things, nobody would know that I grew up poor with a mom who couldn't keep a job and had a wrecked car, and our furniture was all taped up and we lived in Section 8 housing. Because I had all of this old shame, I had all these things that I would do to try and cover up that shame. You can also tell from the pictures that I'm not very energetically open at this point in my life. I was very much playing this like mean girl, tough girl facade out because I was so afraid of this Venus in Cancer being liberated and that sensitive part of me being hurt. The other thing that I use to help uncover patterns is tarot. I have a very special relationship with tarot. Everybody has their own unique relationship with it. I don't necessarily get into trying to read the future or tapping into how your ex is feeling. What I use it for is shadow work. Okay. So your pattern, your unique pattern in relationships carries an energetic signature. All of the cards in tarot carry an energetic signature. I'm drawn to the cards that are in alignment with your pattern. And I've had some amazing results working with tarot and astrology to help uncover your patterns. So we covered that a block creates a pattern, right? Patterns are repeated until they're made conscious, and you take actionable steps towards creating a new pattern because the pattern is there because your nervous system only feels safe with that pattern. It's what it knows, it's familiarity. It doesn't want you straying from the pattern because then that's the unknown. That feels dangerous, right? So you have to give your nervous system intentional, small experiences that are outside of the normal pattern and show your system that you can be safe in shifting out of this pattern. And this happens gradually, consistently over time. It can be hard to see your own pattern. Like I said, you might be a very self-aware person, but you still need someone to help reflect to you those sneaky stories that you've never been able to question because they're so deeply ingrained in your beliefs. That brings me to the zone of proximal development. So, like I said, I have a PhD in education, and this is something I learned from my life as an educator that I now use in my work with women. Basically, what it means is this blue zone right here, that is where a student can complete work independently. They don't need support. So, yes, they are getting the work done, but are they growing and evolving and learning? No, because they're not engaged in any sort of productive struggle. In order for the brain to grow neuroplasticity, you have to engage in a productive struggle. But If something is too difficult, you will shut down. That's the gray anxiety zone. So the key is to find the sweet spot of not too easy, not too hard, just stretchy enough to where you can evolve and grow. And this is what I use when I work one-on-one with clients. I don't want you in the blue zone. I don't want you in the gray zone. I want you stretching yourself just enough, meeting your edge so that we can normalize a new behavior and then create a new edge and repeat the process over and over again until you turn around and you're living a completely unrecognizable life than before. So if you made it here, I think that you are ready for a 90-minute one-on-one relationship rewire session with me. In fact, if these are very accessible, very affordable. In fact, if you go in there to book a session and there's not anything available within a week's time, I want you to email me at the email address here, and I will open up a spot for you. That is how important I think it is for you to be able to access this session while you are already activated after watching this masterclass. Not only have I linked it in the comment section for you to click on, but I'm also giving you a special discount code just for watching this masterclass. So when you go to book, I want you to use the code SECURE for a special rate that's only available to people who have watched the entirety of this masterclass. All right, lover girls, I can't wait to hear your stories. Bye for now. I love you.